Hello everybody! A while ago I stumbled upon a TED Ed video about Islamic architectural design, which I have linked below by the way, and I was so absolutely fascinated by how approachable they make it look. I mean, if you have ever been to a mosque or La Alhambra in Spain or any other Muslim building basically, you have probably seen Islamic geometric designs and they look extremely complicated, and when looked at as a whole, it looks unattainable. It looks like I would never be able to do that. So as I learned from the TED Ed video, as complicated as these designs look, they can actually be quite simplified into 3 categories, which is a 4-fold, a 5-fold, and a 6-fold. So basically everything else, all of the more complicated designs, jump off from any of these patterns. So although the TED Ed video was super helpful in explaining the basics, I of course had to look for a real tutorial that will truly challenge me. So that's when I found Lex Wilson, a YouTuber who is about to teach me how to do a 12-fold geometric pattern. Yes, 12. We'll see how this goes. So as you can see, I started with a big circle with a line through the middle, and as I was doing the second line, the vertical one, I could already tell the main challenge here is definitely precision. Everything has to be very exact for this to look like a perfect geometric pattern. So the first series of circles are essentially building blocks to be able to draw perfectly symmetrical lines, dividing this circle into 12 parts, hence the 12-fold. From these 12 parts, you will see that I am drawing 2 hexagons, which are essentially the main building blocks of the whole design. Everything else that I do after this seems to come from these 2 hexagons. After the 2 hexagons, we're basically doing squares. So we do a total of 3 squares where the angles touch the first circle that we did. So we have to do 3 in order to be able to touch base with each one of the 12 angles from the hexagons. After the 3 big squares are done, we're basically going to do the same thing but with smaller squares twice. So we're basically doing 2 more sets of the 3 squares, each one of them touching the other squares that already happened, and then a smaller one inside of that one touching the inside of all the lines that we have already made. Okay, so far it was pretty understandable. I mean, it looks a little complicated, but especially the way that Lex Wilson explains it with some really nice diagrams, it's, it makes sense. You're doing hexagons and squares. Got it. This is where it gets a bit complicated and a bit messy if it's not super precise. I don't know exactly how to verbally explain to you how I did this. It was just following the tutorial. So of course, if you want to actually recreate this, the proper tutorial to go to is the one by Lex Wilson. If anything, my video can provide you with a quick idea of what you're getting yourself into. If any of you already know how to do this, I'm sure you actually know exactly what's going on. Basically, this part is just a bunch of parallel lines from each other going across the design. So these lines, of course, are not going to be part of the final design. These are all construction lines, everything that we're doing now, so that once we go in with the pen to go over the lines that are actually going to be part of the final design, they can all be precise and in perfect geometry. I want to make this into a 3-part video. Lex Wilson actually split this tutorial into 2 videos. So the first one being the construction and the basic lines, and then the second one being adding details into the design. So I will be doing 2 separate videos for those 2 respective videos, and then I would like to add a third one where I will attempt to create my own design. Now I grab the compass again and I'm just doing little circles that are the diameter of those parallel lines that we just did. But these circles are just going to be in the angles of the first hexagon that we did. And then now is the semi-stressful part, because now is when we go in with ink and go over the parts that are actually going to be in the final design. After doing this first part, where you see that I'm basically doing most of the lines of the main hexagon, I realized that these are very complicated and precise angled lines, and the easiest way to do it, which Lex Wilson doesn't mention that as far as I can remember in his tutorial, so hopefully you can get something from this video. I found it super helpful to first put dots where the lines go, so that basically when I'm actually coming in with the ruler to make the lines, I'm basically connecting the dots, and that way I don't go too far or too short from how far the line needs to go. And it also just simplifies it. Otherwise it's just a big mess of lines and you don't know where you're going. So the dots I found to be a necessary part of completing this design. For the rest of the video, I'll just leave you with the music, and remember the part 2 of this one is gonna be coming up soon. I hope this inspires you to try it out. Even if it's a 4-fold, which is a simpler one, this is really fun. It's a lot of fun. It's actually very calm and patience-inducing, which was nice. I just put on some music and did it, and it was a really nice time. I'm actually looking forward to finishing it. So I'll see you in the next one. Have a fantastic day. Bye!